Here we go then. Confessions of the Reviewer. The 10 confessions with the one and only Mr. John Connolly. Confession number 1. Who would you view as your main competitor in the writing world?
Oh, good Lord. Not that I want anybody to die or anything. That would be awful. I mean, this week it's funny. This is the second year in a row that Joe Nesbo's novel has come out in the same week as mine, and I'm just never going to sell. I've closed the gap this time.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I was coming out in his week, he was going to be one position above me when the first week's sales were announced, and he was. But having said that, I like him, and he's a fine writer. So it's not unhealthy competition. But yeah, you look around and you kind of want to succeed and you want to do well. So yeah, Joe Nesbo this week.
Right. Okay. Confession number 2. What book or author have you read that you think should never have been published?
Oh dear Lord. I'll have to pick somebody who's dead, because it would be awful if I were to talk about somebody who was alive. I think should never have been published. Yeah, that's an awkward, because that's very close to wanting to remove books from existence.
That's exactly what they call confessions.
I'm not sure that I still want the time I spent reading the Da Vinci Code back. It was poor, and but a whole lot of other people liked it. So. If I were to get rid of it, I could only get rid of it from my little corner of the universe.
Horses for courses, I suppose. Confession number 3. Are any of the things your characters have experienced in your books been based on something that has actually happened to you?
I've given every sin I've ever committed to a character in a book. You can't just be the good people in your book. You have to find some little element of truth in the bad ones too, because otherwise they have no kind of humanity or reality. So even them I try to understand. Someone once said everybody has his reasons, and so that's what you add into it. So yes.
Can you tell us who?
No.
Okay. Right. Number 4. You sort of answered this when you gave your talk earlier on tonight. Have you ever blatantly stolen an idea or scene and adapted it for one of your own books?
Blatantly stolen? We're all the product of the people we've read before, and you stand on the shoulders of giants. There's a scene in Bad Men, which was certainly inspired by a scene in The Silence of the Lambs, which is that lovely moment where we think that the hit team has arrived at Buffalo Bill's house, and in fact they've got the wrong house, and instead Clarice is doing it. But instead I had 2 different houses where where these killers are arriving, and there is a knock on a door and you're not sure what door it is. And I don't think I'd have done that had I not read Silence of the Lambs.
So certainly influenced it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Have you ever anonymously left a bad review for someone else's book?
Never. I wouldn't do it, and I think it's an appalling thing to do, so no.
If you review it, you own it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Sorry?
If you review it, then you
do. And I try not to review books anymore, because I actually don't like saying bad things about other people's work. It makes me uncomfortable.
Fair enough. Number 6. What's the one thing you are least proud of doing in your life?
Oh God, there are any number of ex-girlfriends who might wander up and have an opinion on that particular one. There aren't that many things that I've done that are really just crappy. But I think we've all. In my writing life, there's nothing. In my personal life, yeah, you can't not accumulate regrets. There would be a couple of girlfriends I'd like to have apologized to.
Okay.
I was an asshole when I was younger. I'd like to think I'm not so much of an asshole now.
Very honest. Number 7. What's the one thing that you're most proud of?
In my work, I think. In a strange way, and not in a when you say proud, I'm really pleased I wrote the book of Lost Things. I'm very fond of that little book, and one of the loveliest experiences of my writing life has been people coming up and saying that book means something to them, because it was so personal for me. And it's probably, I remember writing to John le Carré once. I apologised to John le Carré for giving him a bad review in a newspaper. And the book in particular, he said it wasn't the book that he would want it buried with him anyway. And I think for me, the Book of Lost Things, if I had to have one buried with me, I'll take that one.
It was rather an excellent book.
Thank
Yeah, it's one of my favourites actually. Okay, number 8. What's your biggest fault?
I have. There are an awful lot of them in my professional life. In excessive perfectionism, I think, and a reluctance to accept that the imperfectibility of all human endeavours. So I get really annoyed about the tiny little things that creep through the net. I'm going to die of an aneurysm or something just because of that, I think. So yeah, my other half would say that I'm marginally obsessive compulsive.
Okay. Number 9. What's your biggest fear?
In professional life, the fear that it might, and I think this is true of all writers, or most writers, the fear that will be taken away from you. The fear that at some point your audience will simply turn around and go, we've had enough of you, time to go, you had your chips. I love writing, I love publishing, and I love the experience of meeting readers and talking to them, and I would miss all of those things if they went away. So I guess the fear of being found out.
Do you still, even now, after so many books of the Charlie Parker series, do you still suffer from a sort of self-confidence?
Yeah, I think so. As I was talking at the event, doubt is part of the process, doubt, and it never goes away. And the more you go on, the more likely it seems to you that you're going to write a book that fails, or you're going to do something awful. It's really difficult, and I want each book to be better than the last. And at some point, I'm going to bang my head against my limitations if I haven't done it already.
And finally, number 10. If you had to go to confession now, what would be the one thing you would need to get off your chest?
Good grief.
Everybody gets stumped on this one.
Everybody gets stumped on this. I think I'd probably fall to defaulting, because I'm a Catholic, I know the form, which is that you come up with a couple of things like you swore and you got a bit angry, and then you go, for these and all my other sins, I'm very sorry. So you don't mention the ones that are doing that, which apparently is not, it doesn't get you absolved, but at least it gets you out of embarrassment with the priest, which is the next best thing.
Excellent, John. Thank you
Pleasure,
very much
man.
indeed.
Thank you. Yeah.